episode. He was Royal Rumble this past week as well. Didn't last very long. Whether or not that's controversial, I don't know. And also this week, Johnny Dango Curtis reprised his old role in NXT as Fandango, and he is challenging for the Heritage Cup next week against Lexus King. Which is going to be very, very interesting. I nearly said the wrong name. It's Brian Pillman Jr., which is going to be he's wrestling next week. But of course, before we get to all of that, we have to get through this week's episode of TNA Impact on the TNA Plus app. Get yourself downloaded, get subscribed, and get on that. But TNA this week started with a song. Not only with a song, but with a Joe Hendry concert. Yes. Yes. Hendry was the champion, my friend, and there was so much division in the nation, gas prices and inflation. The world is going to hell. That doesn't matter because Joe Hendry won the belt. So many other stuff. And then he said something about, and here comes the point when an idiot comes out to challenge me for the title. And with that being said, out comes Jake Something. What a talent Jake Something is, by the way. Been on the channel. If you go to our playlists, go and check out our interview with Jake Something that we done last year. And funnily enough, he challenges Joe Hendry to a match for the TNA Heavyweight Championship, to which Joe strums his guitar and says, I accept. And that match is going to happen next week. It's kind of Championship Thursday next week with another big title match. The Knockouts Championship is on the line next Thursday as well. We'll get into that in a minute. But Jake Something and Joe Hendry next week for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Speaking of championships, I've just mentioned that next week the Knockouts Championship will be on the line. Masha Slamovich will face the winner of tonight's TNA Knockouts Battle Royal. About 9 knockouts involved in the Battle Royal. Masha Slamovich had one eye on that, but she also had her eyes on Cora Jade from NXT, who coincidentally just so happens to be on commentary for Z Knockouts Battle Royal a little bit later on. So Masha Slamovich, eyes and a lot of pies in this sense with Cora Jade, and of course the Knockouts Battle Royal. We'll see who wins that very, very shortly and who takes on Masha Slamovich. And just a little bit of a spoiler alert, it's not someone you would think it is. We'll leave that right there. But the first bit of action tonight was Ace Austin against NXT's Tyson Dupont. Now, Tyson Dupont is a part of Wesley's faction with Tyreek as well. What I will say about this, I don't watch a lot of NXT, to be honest with you. It's one, we really cover it every now and again on the podcast. We should cover it more. But to be honest, with all the interviews that we do on top of that, it just makes it very difficult for us to find the time. I know it's only a couple of hours, but it is what it is. But the beauty of the NXT TNA partnership is we're going to get to see some of these younger talents in NXT get TV time as well on TNA. And I've never seen Tyson Dupont wrestle before, sorry. He is very impressive in that ring. He combines power with speed. He's got a good ground and pound. Him and Ace Austin had a really good chemistry together in that ring. I mean, Ace Austin's probably one of the most criminally underrated wrestlers in wrestling. Not necessarily in TNA. He's very, very well looked after in TNA, but he's someone that can go to the very top wherever he chooses to go. These two had such great chemistry together, and that is a great thing with this partnership. We're going to see matches like this every so often, and it will really showcase the talents of both individuals here. Ace Austin, as I said before, is on a different level to a lot of people. Tyson Dupont powerhouse in this as well. It was really good. Yes, there were some shenanigans on the outside with Tariq and Wesley, but ultimately Ace Austin hits the fold and picks up the pinfall victory and wins the match. Now that wasn't all. Of course, I mentioned shenanigans. There was further shenanigans after with Tyreek and Wesley, but out come Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz, the Rascals, to help Ace Austin clean house. So that's going to be an interesting. So it's going to be a six-person, is it? Six-man tag, surely down the line to the Rascals and Ace Austin versus Tyson Dupont, Tariq, and Wesley. That has got an incredible match when that happens. I don't, it's not happening next week. I know that much. Um, so an incredible six-man that will be. And of course, in a couple of weeks' time, TNA will be live from Full Sail University. The old WWE tapings are there. They're going to be live February the 20th, I believe, for another episode of TNA Impact. Yes, February the 20th, live Impact, Full Sail University, couple of weeks away. I can imagine some big stuff will be happening on that live taping. Some more NXT crossovers will definitely be on the horizon as TNA, sorry, goes into NXT country in a lot of senses at Full Sail University. Now, another knockout who is not going to be in the Knockouts Battle Royal is Tessa Blanchard. She has said that she's not going in there because the other 9 women that are in there will be gunning for her. And quite frankly, it is her rules. She's above everybody else. She is going to watch the Knockouts Battle Royal, funnily enough, and not be involved. Probably smart thinking from Tessa. She would imagine that everyone would gang up on her and throw her out the ring as she would be the one, yeah, not because she's the size of the Big Show or anything like that, but because the big favourite she would be if she was in there. And as you're all in there at once, it's not the Royal Rumble where every 2 minutes somebody comes in. It is literally you're in. And, in that being said, it was probably a wise move that Tessa did not go in to the Battle Royal. Now, she is, however, be watching backstage. But before we get to the Battle Royal, we then saw Mintz and Steph DeLanda, the Digital Media Champion. She was boasting again, of course, about having the Digital Media Championship from the now departed PCO, or the divorced PCO, as Steph DeLanda points out, and that she took the Digital Media Championship away. Still not been officially credited, I might add, by TNA as the Digital Media Champion, or as Mintz Warner. But he's going to have his problems of his own, and that problem is Sami Callihan. More on that very, very shortly. But it is now time for that Knockouts Battle Royal. What a ton of fun this match was. More importantly than all of that, we had a big, big surprise entrant in the Battle Royal. Those of you that watch our NWA program will know there's a territory in the NWA called Dog Pound. And that is taught in there. Sorry, that is owned. And the teacher is, of course, Miss Jazz. And we call her Miss Jazz because every lady from the NWA that we've had on this program calls her Miss Jazz. You'll all know her as Jazz, the former WWE Women's Champion, made an appearance in the Battle Royal. It was a ton of fun. It was a crazy little match. We had Alicia Edwards in there, Ash and Heather by Elegance. They spent a lot of time hiding underneath the ring. Very smart from the Elegances. Spitfire was in it. Danny Luna, Jody Frett, Savannah Evans, Zaya Brookside. And of course, we had Cora Jade on commentary and Tessa Blanchard watching from the back. So you kind of had this freeway camera thing going on. Sometimes it would take you back out the back and you'd see Tessa Blanchard standing there. You'd go to the commentary desk and there's Cora Jade. But I've written, and Rosemary was in there as well, sorry. I've written down as much as I got through the elimination. So Tasha Steelz was eliminated by Alicia Edwards. Alicia Edwards was eliminated by Spitfire. I think Spitfire were eliminated by the Elegances. Yes, she was. Then Jazz got thrown over the rope. She landed on the apron, and Ash took her legs away and eliminated her then. And it ended up with two interesting names, two of the names that perhaps you wouldn't have expected in that battle royal, and it was Savannah Evans and Zaya Brookside. Now, Zaya Brookside at this point nearly has the match won, but Cora Jade offers up a distraction to Zaya Brookside, which allows Savannah Evans to eliminate Zaya Brookside and thus become the #1 contender for the Knockouts Champion Masha Slamovich. And that match will happen next week. Masha Slamovich, Savannah Evans. Savannah Evans is no slouch in that ring. She is going to pose a big, big threat to Masha Slamovich next week. Cast your mind back to last week now, and you will remember Eric Young was teaming with Josh Alexander against Sinner and Saint, only for him to clothesline Josh Alexander, turn against him, and align himself with the Northern Armory, Sinner and Saint. Well, this week, of course, Eric Young is basically saying he's above everybody. He's above the champions in TNA. He stands alone above everybody else. And then out comes his former tag team partner. No, not Josh Alexander. Steve Macklin. And Macklin comes out and basically says, well, I trusted you. I was the one, you were the guy, the first guy in 4 years that I trusted. And you done this. You didn't tell me the plan. You should have told me what the plan was. And he crossed the line by attacking Josh Alexander last week. And as long as he sides with the Northern Armory or Sinner and Saint, Macklin is out. And as he walks away, out comes the walking weapon, Josh Alexander. They have a little stare off on the aisleway. And Josh basically comes out and says he hasn't got long in TNA left, long being next week. But that's the fact. He's got that next week is his last match in TNA, and he has challenged the world-class maniac Eric Young to a match next week on TNA Impact. So Josh Alexander, in his farewell to TNA, will take on Eric Young on top of Joe Hendry versus Jake Summing, on top of Masha Slamovich and Savannah Evans. Now here comes Sami Callihan, who is going crazy out the back looking for Menace Warner and Steph DeLander. And he bumps into Kaz. And he was like, where is mate? Where is he? And Kaz is like, I don't even know who you're talking about. Literally, Kaz was like, I don't even know who he is. And Callahan's gone off. And Callihan has then summoned Santana Morella and was like, this is an unsafe working environment. And Santana was like, take it easy. It was quite a fun segment to end it, but Callihan is pissed. There is no doubt about that. He has gone crazy. He wants Menace Warner. I've got a feeling that could be Monsters Ball, I really do think that, they're going to have some crazy match, those two, eventually. Maybe at the Live Impact in a couple of weeks. I don't know. But they could be... They're on a collision course. They're going to collide at some point and batten down the hatches when they do. The next match is the match that I was looking forward to the most. And this isn't a disrespect to Santana and Cardona or the Nemeth versus Fraxiom. This was a dream pairing coming up. It was Matt and Jeff Hardy and the youngest in charge, Leon Slater, against the System, Moose, JDC / Fandango, and Eddie Edwards. And the three that I've mentioned, the Hardys, Leon Slater, was an absolute incredible team. It was a different kind of, when I say the usual Hardy match, Jeff takes the beat in, gets the hot tag to Matt, he cleans house, they double team Matt for a bit, Jeff gets his second wind and it ends. This was Add that, but include Leon Slater taking the brunt of the punishment later, early on in this match. Well, the Hardys and Leon started really fast. The system come in, and then once they took over, it was Leon that was getting the brunt of the punishment. He eventually tags Jeff for the hot tag, and that's when it goes into your usual Hardy Boys moment. The finish of this exciting, enthralling match saw Matt Hardy. It was a twist of fate by Jeff. Moose flies up into a net breaker from Matt. Moose is then positioned for the Swanton Bomb. Leon Slater, who's taken the other two members of the system out with that jumping splash he does over the corner, is getting up on the apron, and Jeff goes, "Get up." He hits that 450 Swanton Bomb that he does. Then Jeff hits the Swanton Bomb and picks up the victory. It was a crazy sequence to end this match, but my God, it was so, so good. The Hardys and Leon Slater can team up every single week on TNA, and you would not hear a bad word from me if they did. I absolutely thought that was brilliant. Those three together. I mean, Leon must have been living in a dream world when he done this. I know Leon's quite young, but he would have known the Hardy Boys. He would have watched some of their matches growing up, and he would have been wanting to, team with them. They wore the paint. Jeff wore all of the paint. Matt wore one side. Leon wore the other. I've seen that backstage, and he looks like a kid in a candy shop, by the way, when he's doing that video backstage with the Hardys. What an incredible moment that was for him. One of many incredible moments that is going to be happening to Leon Slater in 2025. The match was brilliant. I loved it. I thought it was great. Leon Slater was like the Hardy Boys were like years ago, when they were younger. They won't mind me saying that, I'm sure. Brilliant. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Take a breath. Yeah, but from that, Mustafa Ali is backstage, and he catches the good hands. So Mustafa Ali, first thing, I think he's on a bit of a recruitment drive. And he's in his kind of backhanded, complimented way that he is and does, your brainwashing way that he does. Now, he saw the good hands arguing backstage, and he was just like, I don't like all this arguing. It's not right. You are good hands. But then he said, you could be great. And he walks away. He then sees Tasha Steelz upset after losing the Battle Royal, obviously, losing her opportunity. And he was talking to her, and he convinces Tasha Steelz to leave with Ali. So Ali is on a bit of a recruitment drive here in TNA and has the good hands and Tasha Steelz in mind. What could be on the mind of Mustafa Ali, and why is he looking to recruit those names? We will find out, I would imagine, a little bit more next week. But Tasha Steelz leaves with him. The good hands have had a seed planted that they could be great. We shall see. The semi-main event, which could be a main event anywhere you go, was next. That was Mike Santana, Matt Cardona, pay-per-view quality match, as you would have expected when I said those two names. I don't like to say the word proving ground match for Santana, but when you think about what Matt Cardona's done on the independent scene, the belts that he's won, he's kind of like, I suppose it's kind of like a champion in a sense. It was kind of like Santana was going for a championship when he took on someone like Matt Cardona. And I felt that. I really did feel that way for Matt. I really did feel that way for Mike Santana in this. I really felt like this was his kind of proving ground. He may not have looked at it that way, but it's how I saw it. Really, really solid back and forth. And I'll tell you what this one is, right? When you go to watch an independent wrestling show and you watch two guys that have been in the WWE or in AEW and they come over for the show and they have a match, or don't have a match against each other, they have a match against other people. And you sit there and go, that was like a WWE style match. That is exactly what this match was. It was one of those matches where you would have seen it main event WWE or main event a SmackDown or a Raw or a Dynamite. And in this case, a TNA didn't look out of place with the action that we saw, by the way, on TNA. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how the match was put together. It was put together like a WWE pay-per-view style match between these two. A real proving ground match for Mike Santana, and he did indeed get the job done over Matt Cardona. I was going to call him Mark. Mark, bloody Mike, whatever. Next, Bill. Cardona, and he got the job done with the spin the block. And I'm telling you, I love Joe Hendry, I really do, but Mike Santana for me. Bound for Glory, maybe. Slammiversary, maybe. He's winning the TNA Heavyweight Championship this year. He has to. He simply has to win the title this year because he is on that. He is on that rich vein of form. He is on that run. He is the chasing. He's leading the chasing pack, shall we say? He's not number one contender. Jake something is, but at the moment, anyway. But you can see where they're going with him. I can near enough. I would bet a lot of money that Mike Santana will be TNA World Champion in 2025, much like I would put money on Leon Slater being the X Division Champion in 2025. But a really good, solid match between those two. Very well put together. Santana picking up the victory. Great, great match between the two. Main event time on TNA this week. Fraxiom defending the NXT Tag Team Championships against the Nemeths, Ryan and Nic. And I mentioned, like I just mentioned before in that last match, where you can sense it was put together by people that have worked in the WWE and AEW. This is exactly the same here. Nic Nemeth is that wily veteran of the sport, and you can tell he had input in this. These four guys were brilliant, though, to be quite honest. It was fast-paced. It slowed it down. It was a fun, again, another back and forth, exciting match. Really had you on the edge of your seats on this for the majority of this. The Nemeths work well together. Fraxiom are just so, so good. And again, this is the big benefit of the partnership. Because if Fraxiom got called up to, say, Raw or SmackDown, would they be utilized in the right way? And you can look at the things in the past, and I would bet my house that they wouldn't be used in the right way. So for them coming down, not even coming down, but coming to TNA and facing the top talent that TNA have is going to boost them up. They're going to get more experience. They're going to be facing the guys like Nic and Ryan Nemeth, who have been in the business. Well, Nic's certainly been in the business a long time, so it will really benefit those in the long run. That would be beneficial more than them getting called up and perhaps getting decimated by the bloodline or whatever they're called now. You know, you're getting my point with that. Having those types of matches makes it more and more, so much more better for them. Great match, by the way. Great, great tag match. The ending of this is kind of where we've seen things go wrong before with the Nemeth. Ryan Nemeth tries to get involved. He's involved. He's part of the match, but he had a steel chair. Nick's saying don't use it. Fraxiom ends up knocking Ryan into Nic, knocks him out of the ring. Fraxiom hits the finish, and it's all over. More problems with the Nemeths. The Fraxiom retain the title. Nic and Ryan Nemeth are on a collision course, and it's gonna happen sooner rather than later on TNA. That is an absolute dead cert. They are on a collision course against each other. Ryan Nemeth is trying to do the wrong thing. Nic Nemeth's trying to do the right thing. It's going to collide between them two on TNA soon. But Fraxiom pick up the victory in an exciting main event. And like I've already said, next week on TNA, it is Title Thursday. The two biggest titles in TNA on the line. But first things first, another couple of other matches have been made for next Thursday. We've got Xia Brookside one-on-one against Cora Jade. Will Xia be able to get her revenge from Cora, costing her in the Knockouts Battle Royal? We have Kaz versus Sami Callihan. We saw the bit out the back later or earlier on in the night on TNA. They collide next week. Josh Alexander in his final TNA match takes on the world-class maniac Eric Young, and no doubt the Northern Armory will be at ringside as well. Plus those two championship matches. Masha Slamovich one-on-one against the winner of the Knockouts Battle Royal, Savannah Evans, and Joe Hendry defends the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Jake something. If that isn't a reason to download the TNA Plus app and subscribe, then what the hell are we doing here? Make sure you do that. Make sure you subscribe and to our channel at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Coming up on this channel, Rob Van Dam. Coming up on this channel, Gangrel. And coming up on this channel, the big bad booty daddy, Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner will be joining us soon. But for those of you that just tune into TNA, firstly, thank you. Secondly, we'll see you next week on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Until then, everybody, cross that line. Stay safe and goodbye.